Welcome back to the Birdhouse Dynasty Show. Week 1 recap of the NFL 2025 season. It's the kickoff weekend. We had some amazing games, potentially the game of the year with the Ravens traveling to Buffalo last evening. Oh my, oh my. It was just unreal. Let's bring up the numbers for that game. I don't know if you were able to see it at all, but man, if you did not see this one, you missed out. All right. You missed out. Yes. So the first half, especially the second quarter, was dominated by Derrick Henry. He had 101 yards in the second quarter, big touchdown. Then in the third quarter, the Ravens continued their onslaught. Lamar Jackson hitting DeAndre Hopkins, old man Hopkins, coming to play with an amazing catch down the sideline for the touchdown. Lamar was in control, but then we got into the fourth quarter, and the Bills were down by 15 with barely 3-4 minutes to go. They were able to put together a drive, get down the field, and score. Then, interestingly, at least with the most recent analytics, they decided to kick the extra point, so that made it 40-32. Then Derrick Henry fumbled, and the Bills were able to score quickly. First play, Allen hits his tight end over the middle, got down to the 1. They scored a play later, and so they cut it to 40-38, did not get the 2-point conversion, but then they still had their timeouts left. So after the 2-minute warning, they were able to stuff Baltimore at near the 40-yard line, Baltimore's own 40. They decided not to go for it on fourth and 2 or 3 yards. Lamar hit Hopkins over the middle, and it was just short of the sticks. And rather than go for it, they decided to punt it back to Josh Allen, who was on fire at that time. Allen moved them down into easy field goal range for Matt Prater. And then there was an interesting, Baltimore still had their timeouts, or at least 2 of them, and they decided to call their final one with 32 seconds left. The Bills were out of timeouts, so the Bills had to snap the ball and to run the clock down so that the Ravens didn't get it back. So the Bills had to snap the ball into the middle of the field, kneel down, run their kickoff or field goal unit onto the field, and so Matt Prater could kick the game-winning field goal as time expired. Amazing finish. Had Baltimore called that timeout with, say, 15 or 16 seconds to go, then the Bills wouldn't have had time to run a play and kneel down so that they could kick the field goal as time expired. They would have had to kick the field goal and then kick off, so Baltimore would have had a shot with the ball. I just thought that was interesting to note with John Harbaugh, I think, making a mistake there. But, I mean, mistakes happen. That's all part of the game. And Baltimore, once again, doesn't come through in the clutch. 1 second here. Okay, that's better. Just had to get my mic plugged in. It came unplugged. I apologize. Anyway, so Baltimore once again fails to come through in a big game. Uh, they could have put it away had they gotten. Uh, uh, they had a couple of opportunities to just get a first down and basically ice the game. But Buffalo, in their final home opener at Highmark Stadium, comes through with the amazing come from behind victory. You can see the stats here. We've got Derrick Henry rushing for 169 yards, 2 touchdowns. Lamar was 70 on the ground and a touchdown. 200 through the air, a couple more touchdowns there. Zay Flowers with a career high 143 yards and a touchdown on 7 catches. DeAndre Hopkins is 2 for 35 with that touchdown I mentioned. Mark Andrews putting up a stinker to start things out with 1 catch for 5 yards. Now over to the Bills. You can see there Keon Coleman with the big touchdown grab off the deflection. That was, I'm trying to think if that was the one that got them to 32 or 38. I think it was the one that got them to 38. And then they missed the 2-point conversion that could have tied it potentially there. But anyway, Keon Coleman with 8 catches for 112 yards. Khalil Shakir, 6 for 64. Very close in targets there with the both of them. James Cook with a solid game. 44 on the ground with a touchdown. And then 58 yards through the air. So that puts him, just over 100 yards all day. Josh Allen with 2 touchdowns on the ground, 2 touchdowns through the air with those 394 yards through the air. Josh Allen clearly coming through big time in what could amount to the game of the year. I mean, last year we had Baltimore, Kansas City on opening night for an amazing game, week 1, and now this year Baltimore comes out on the short end of the stick once again. Just frustrating if you're a Lamar owner. Not that in fantasy wins really matter, but you still want to see your guys come through and perform well. It only helps your dynasty value when guys are playing well, and had Lamar ice this game, I think they should have gone for it on 4th and 2. I don't know. Go ahead and give me your thoughts. But if they go for it, you're putting the ball, you do a fake handoff to Henry and put the ball in the hands of your 2-time MVP. Let him try and pick up those couple of yards and go from there, because then you probably would have at least given yourself a chance to get the ball back. Buffalo, yes, they would have been in field goal range already, but that Baltimore defense wasn't stopping Allen from getting down the field. So, I don't know. I don't like the call. I'm just an assistant 6th grade coach. What do I know? All right. So, moving along, I don't know. We could talk about this game for 40 minutes. Man, that was just some great football. If you're able to on NFL Network, try and catch that game on a rewind. I mean, that was just some fantastic action last night. Very happy to be a part of it. My part as a fan, yes. All right, we'll go to some of the late games here quickly. San Francisco traveling to Seattle, and George Kittle tearing it up in the first quarter, 4 for 25, and then he goes down, pulls up with a hamstring injury. We'll bring up the numbers here. There we go. So Kittle 4 for 25 with the injury then, so that's something to monitor this week. Did get the touchdown. Brock Purdy, 26 of 35, 277, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. Wild day for Purdy. Christian McCaffrey, all that noise about potentially having to sit out again. Lamar and Zay Stack saved my week. I would say so, with Walker having a stinker and Chase. Yes, we'll get to the Kenneth Walker stinker right here. But before that, McCaffrey did get 9 catches for 73 yards to save his day. So still a big performance. Ricky Pearsall coming out on all cylinders, firing on all cylinders. Coming out with a great game, 4 for 108 for Ricky Pearsall. So he looks like, well, the de facto number 1 wide receiver here, as Juwan Jennings just 2 for 16. Is that a buying opportunity now for Jennings? I kind of think so. He's cheap enough that I wouldn't hate it, okay? You can easily get him for a second, maybe a couple thirds. So if you need a receiver at the bottom end of your lineup, that's one guy to look for. Over to Seattle, JSN, 9 for 124 with a 40-yarder. Did have a big fumble, though, and that definitely cost them at the end. The Seahawks were down at the 9-yard line of the Niners with under 2 minutes to go, and that basically cost them the game. So in spite of the big numbers there for JSN, that's what he's going to be thinking about. Now, in the backfield, total split here between Zach Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker. Not what the Kenneth Walker owners want to see, myself included. Just, 10 carries for 20 yards. Did get 3 catches for a measly 4 yards. But yeah, not good. Zach Charbonnet gets the touchdown plunge, 12 for 47. So it's, solid afternoon for Charbonnet, at least what, his owners could have expected. Sam Darnold, nothing special here, 16 of 23 for a $150. But you can see here the target share heavily favored towards JSN, so that's something to note. Do you want to buy Cooper Kupp now? I mean, you could if it's cheap enough. I guess you'd throw a third at him, but I don't know. Maybe the owner will be willing to get off of him for that. But the big news going forward here would be the George Kittle injury to monitor. He'll have an MRI this week, could be out a month, depending on the severity of the hamstring injury. So that's something huge to monitor. CMC seemed fine, even though we had that totally scary injury alert pop up on, what was it, Thursday, I believe. I think it was on opening night. That one scared the shit out of everybody, especially the CMC owners. So Brian Robinson, it's not Brian Robinson time yet. You can see here just 33 yards. Did get 9 carries, so, I mean, it was rushing-wise, 31 carries all told for the Niners. Basically what would amount to 67, 70-ish% split there. So then you had 1 catch for Robinson. Meanwhile, McCaffrey had 9. So decent work, though, for B-Rob, just getting over to the team a couple weeks ago. So, yeah, something. He's obviously the number 2. Here we got something from Leo. Trade Collins and Andrews for Hunter and A.J. Brown in Dynasty. In Dynasty, huh? Woo, it's a big boy deal. Yeah, I don't hate it as long as your tight end room's fine. Even if, I mean, you're down, I mean, Mark Andrews is no longer an elite option really at tight end. You're definitely selling low on him with his awful performance, but God, I love Nico. But Hunter, you're able to still, I like the workload he got. We'll get into his numbers shortly. We're going to start over with the Nico Collins portion of that deal, and we'll bring up those numbers here shortly. But you got a lot of guys who underperformed. All four of those guys really underperformed week one. So that's what typically you're going to be looking to do here heading into week two, is get out and go after those guys who underperformed. Mark Andrews sucked the whole first month of last year, and obviously still came back. He's going to be a solid goal line, red zone option for Lamar all season long. So any four of these guys involved in this deal, if you could go and look to acquire, I think that it's a fair deal, and players are just giving up on guys. So yeah, if you just want to all four of your players, you just want to trade away assets that you're pissed at, I mean, go ahead. I kind of like the Hunter AJ Brown side. So yeah, that would be the side I would lean. So if you're getting Hunter and AJ Brown, I guess I like your side more there, Leo. All right. So here's the numbers. We're going to the Houston LA Rams game. You've got CJ Stroud not doing so much, 19 of 27 for $188 and an interception, no touchdowns there. Nick Chubb, of course, getting the bell cow work with Joe Mixon out indefinitely. So 13 for 60 for Chubb, did not get into the end zone. 4.6 average, not bad. As for the receivers, though, Nico Collins not doing what his owners want. Just 3 catches for 25 yards. Jaden Higgins getting a couple catches for 32. Not much else going on there, with Stroud only having 19 completions. Over to the Rams side of the ball, we had Puka Nacua definitely getting things done here. 10 for 130. He was the machine of their offense all day long. The Texans had a chance late. Trying to think if there was a fumble or interception late. Where's the plays here? Here's the drives. Okay. Go to the fourth quarter. Yes, that drive ended in a fumble. Dare Gunbowale fumbled. And, they had 1st and 10 at the Rams' 25-yard line, driving for a go-ahead touchdown. And Gunbowale coughs it up, sealing it for the Rams as they sneak out of there with a victory. Back to the stats on this one. See if I can actually get to them. There we go. Here's the summary. Kyron Williams, I just want to see his. Yeah, Kyron was definitely the man. 18 for 66 with a touchdown. Added another catch through the air. Devontae Adams, 4 for 51. So an okay game. Not great fantasy-wise. Davis Allen getting the touchdown on a 13-yard catch. So tight ends really doing nothing there for the Rams. You can cut all your Tyler Higbee, Colby Parkinson, even Turd Ferguson. Ferguson is rookie, so he's still got hope. But I mean, with Puka and Devontae Adams hogging all the targets here, I don't know. That's something I really want to buy into. But anyway, Stafford with another ho-hum performance, 245, touchdown, no picks. All right, now we'll move over to the next game. Trying to buzz through the late games here. We'll head over to Denver, where we had the Titans visiting Denver. This was a game where I selected Denver in my eliminator pool. So Denver pulled it out. Not a little closer than I had hoped. I mean, they still technically, I don't know if they covered. They were at 7 or 7.5 for a while. I think it maybe bumped up to 8, the line, which would have pushed. But anyway, Cam Ward in his inaugural performance here, not great, just 12 for 28 for 112 yards. Calvin Ridley getting the most receptions, but just 4 for 27. He did have a big drop there as Cam Ward was trying to lead him on a game-tying drive. Tony Pollard, as expected, got the bell cow work. Not pretty, though, but it was the Denver defense, so 18 for 60, and then had 1 catch for 29 through the air. Not much else going on there with only 12 completions. I mean, there's not a whole lot to get excited about in the Titans receiver room. Over to Denver, Bo Nix looked 25 of 40, 176 yards, touchdown, but 2 interceptions. J.K. Dobbins getting 63 yards with a touchdown late to extend that lead. They had been up 13-12 at that point, but then Dobbins gets the late touchdown to put them up 20-12. R.J. Harvey on that drive had busted a 50-yarder, so that looks promising for the young rookie. Although we would love to see him get more rushing attempts there, opposed to J.K. Dobbins, 16, Harvey just 6. And then Harvey only had 1 catch out of the backfield. We'd like that to get a little higher as well. Cortland Sutton getting the 1 touchdown catch from Bo Nix, and Troy Franklin had a decent game for him, 4 for 44, but Evan Ingram not doing a whole lot, just 3 for 21. Tyler Beatty there, you can see he was the third back for the Broncos. Jaleel McLaughlin was a healthy scratch. All right. Next up, just want to touch on that one a little bit here. You know, we had the matchup of Cam Ward and Bo Nix there. I don't think either player's dynasty value really is affected by this one, by this performance. I think that dynasty-wise, we were really looking at what kind of action was Harvey going to get. And for week 1, I'm not concerned at all. Him just getting, 6 carries. It looks like it was a really slow-paced game. Not many plays run either way. Bo Nix did throw it 40 times. But he really spread it around. And I think eventually, once that consolidates down a little bit, you'll see some games where Harvey gets 4 or 5 catches there and helps out his fantasy numbers. The thing I really love is seeing is just that he is out on the field. It's not like Dobbins completely dominated. If you had watched some of that game, you know that most of those carries for Dobbins happened just in the fourth quarter on that drive, and which that drive Harvey did have a 50-yard run. So, Dobbins got all the carries for 2 or 3 yards. And then Harvey's the dude who busted the big one. And then Dobbins finished the drive off with like a 19-yard touchdown. So, I don't know. But, Leo, after going over that game, I'm still leaning the Travis Hunter, A.J. Brown side. All right, let's go to our next matchup. and we're going to head over to Lambeau Field, where the Packers hosted the Detroit Lions in a big early season test for the Packers' new look defense and the hopeful return of Jordan Love to fantasy relevance. Last year Love definitely struggled, and so I was coming into this season not too high on him. I know they grabbed a first round rookie for him for the first time in what seems like forever, which really was. I mean, it's like 20 some years the last time the Packers took a receiver in the first round. Grabbing Matthew Golden. Now, Matthew Golden just 2 catches for 16 yards on the day. Romeo Dobbs had the big 48 yarder. And Jaden Reed had the catch that scored the touchdown. Tucker Kraft also had a touchdown on a 15-yarder. So as you can see, the Packers and Jordan Love definitely spreading things around. What everybody wanted to avoid, or why people wanted to avoid that Packers wide receiver room. Tucker Kraft I was a little bit in on, but in the end I didn't honestly end up drafting a lot of Kraft just because I liked some of the wide receivers, maybe the running backs in that range. When Kraft was available to me, I was looking more for a bargain on Kraft. Didn't exactly get that this year. So anyway, story here was the Packers defense, honestly. Micah Parsons definitely making an impact. He did get a sack. He had a couple of pressures on Jared Goff, who finished the day pretty ugly. I mean, his completion percentage looks okay, going 31 for 39, but that doesn't show how much he was pressured all day long. Jahmyr Gibbs struggled. David Montgomery struggled. You can see there the two combined for 20 carries for just 44 yards. That is not the Detroit offense we've gotten accustomed to over the last few years. So Sam Laporta with a solid ball game, 6 for 79. He was finding open creases in the Packers defense, but all in all, the Lions just not a good performance. Came out flat. The Packers really took it to them. Josh Jacobs, not an amazing day, but 19 for 66, 3.5 yard average. Got it into the end zone for the 9th straight game, I think they said. So, yeah, the Packers had a well-balanced offense. Were able to pound Josh Jacobs in the fourth quarter when they were comfortably in the lead. So, all in all, you can't really ask for more if you're a Packer fan. That was just a great performance all around by them. Amon-Ra filling in there with 4 for 45 yards. Jamison Williams, 4 for 23. Now, Jahmyr Gibbs, if you're a Jahmyr Gibbs owner in a full PPR league, you're still loving it. 10 catches for 31 yards. I mean, that kind of helped Jared Goff's completion percentage when you're dumping off that much. David Montgomery, 4 for 18 also, so you can see there. Isaac Tesla, just an amazing one-handed catch for a touchdown, 13-yarder in the back left corner of the end zone. Just an awesome catch. Check that out if you have the time. All right. Now, how big is that win for the Packers? Like, I know that's still 16 more games to play, but that is a huge momentum booster for the Packers to come out and get that win. I don't know if that means that they'll beat Detroit in this division or Minnesota, but to start the season out, you couldn't ask for anything more. They were in control of the game throughout, and it just seemed like Goff was off from the get-go. And I was watching Goff because I got him in one league, and I don't have him in, I think it's just 1 or 2 leagues. So I was hoping for a little bit more from Goff, because like the Packers secondary isn't that great, or hadn't been considered that great. The addition of Parsons, though, you get a pass rusher in there, you can make any secondary look good, right? And that's what happened at least yesterday. So good for the Packers. Okay, next up, we have one more late game. I don't want to forget about. No, we hit all those up. Okay, now back to the early games. So the early games on Sunday, one of the one of the big highlighted games here is the Pittsburgh Steelers traveling to the New York Jets. Aaron Rodgers getting to see one of his one of his old teams now. He'll see the Packers later in the season, but yesterday he got to travel to New York and take on the Jets. And this was not what most expected. This was fireworks all over the place. So we've got Aaron Rodgers finishing. This game was just back and forth. Steelers ended up coming out ahead. Aaron Rodgers, 22 of 30, 244 yards, 4 touchdowns on the day. Jalen Warren leading the charge in the backfield, very ugly, 11 for 37. Caleb Johnson, just one carry. One carry for Caleb for -2 yards. That is just not what we want to see from the rookie there. DK Metcalf did lead the receivers, 4 catches for 83 yards. Jonnu Smith did sneak into the end zone. He finished 5 catches for 15 yards with the touchdown. Ben Skowronek got in the end zone, as did Jalen Warren, saving his day with a touchdown reception. Pat Fryermuth, 3 for 28. So nothing too spectacular there, but I don't think many were expecting much. He did get 7 targets to DK, 7 out of the 30, so that's roughly where you think he's going to fall, around 20% there. So yeah, I think that stays in line with what most were expecting. Now we go over to the Jets, though, and a lot of question marks about Breece Hall and the way that the Jets would split up the touches in the backfield. A lot of people worried about Braylon Allen taking over. Well, Breece Hall put that notion to rest. 19 carries for 107 yards. Justin Fields did get 2 touchdowns. Now, Braylon Allen did get the 1 touchdown on the ground. So, again, Breece Hall's ceiling limited here. But he did get 107 yards against a tough Steelers defense. So that's promising, at least. Justin Fields then, just 16 of 22 through the air, did connect with Garrett Wilson on a 33-yard touchdown. Wilson coming up with a big, strong afternoon, 7 for 95 on 9 targets and that touchdown. Breece Hall added 2 for 38 through the air, and then not much. You've got Tyler Johnson, 2 for 31. Josh Reynolds, 2 for 18. Mason Taylor, 1 for 20. Jeremy Ruckert, 2 for 16. So as you can see, you got Garrett Wilson there with 9 targets out of the 22 attempts for Fields. So that is like, what, about a 40% target share. Yeah, if he keeps this up, we're looking like, if you go 7 for 95 every week, I mean, you cannot complain one bit. And he found his way into the end zone, so that is good news for Garrett Wilson. I don't know if you'll be able to buy him, but Justin Fields, you couldn't ask for a better afternoon. This is really what you were looking for. 48 yards on the ground, 2 touchdowns. Like, that's a monster day for Fields. So Rodgers, though, definitely looks like he still has it. So if you're scraping the bottom of the barrel at quarterback, this is an opportunity. You don't want to pay too much for the old guy, but there weren't any major injuries at the quarterback position, not at least that I can think of right now. But like, if you're looking at bottom of the barrel, there's Rodgers and Russell Wilson, who we'll get into in a moment, who didn't look very good. Rodgers definitely looks like he'll be the Steelers quarterback all season. Wilson, on the other hand, probably not. I would say definitely not. Let's just go right into that game. Uh, there we go. Giants and Commanders. As expected, the Commanders pulled this one out 21-6. They were in command pretty much from the get-go. We've got Jaden Daniels leading the charge, 19 of 30, 233 and a touchdown. Nothing too spectacular, but did add 68 on the ground. JCM, there's the big news. Old Bill leading the way for the Commanders' backfield, 10 for 82 and a touchdown. Now you can go out and sell this guy if you were looking to sell him earlier. I don't know if I love him long term, but man, 10 for 82, 42 yarder, and gets the touchdown. This is what you wanted. So, old Bill there with the big day. Deebo Samuel, as many had expected, leading the charge for the Commanders receiver room. 7 for 77 on 10 targets for Deebo. Can't call him Fat Deebo now. There's that touchdown if you're watching on the right-hand side. Terry McLaurin just 2 for 27. So, yeah, a little rough start for Terry, who missed basically all of training camp or all of the preseason, at least with that holdout. Zach Ertz did get into the end zone, 3 for 26 with that touchdown. Sorry, that one touchdown was Zach Ertz, not Deebo Samuel. So Deebo 7 for 77. Just with no touchdown. Not much else going on there, though, in the receiver room. So there you have it, the Commanders' new-look offense with Bill, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt leading the way. Austin Eckler just 6 for 26 and did add 3 for 31 through the air, so kind of saved his day. Got him up to, around 10 points, 8, 9, 10 points there. Here we go, over to the Giants now. Yuck. Straight up yuck. 17 of 37 for $168. No touchdowns, no picks for Russell Wilson on the day. Gross. Just totally gross. 8 for 44 on the ground. He did add. But Tyron Tracy, nothing special there. 10 for 24. Scattaboo, negative yardage on 2 carries. Malik Neighbors did have, a whatever day, 5 for 71 on 12 targets, so 12 of 37 targets, so that's looking like a 30% target share for Neighbors. Wan'Dale Robinson added 6 for 55, but not much else there going on for the Giants. So the question now is, how soon will Jackson Dart be taking over for the Giants? Could it be as soon as next week if Russell Wilson starts out the first half ugly? I don't know. The Giants, I know, have a tough matchup next week. Their first 4 games are really tough. I had been looking at week 5 potentially against New Orleans as their matchup, where they could start Jackson Dart. But next week they travel to Dallas, so an interesting matchup there. Can the Cowboys really take it to them? We shall see. But there we go. There's your Jackson Dart update for those of you waiting for Dart to get his opportunity. All right. From the Giants, we'll slide over to their old quarterback, and Daniel Jones looking strong, getting the start, winning the job over Anthony Richardson in camp, and the Colts just dominated this one from the get-go, 33-8 over the Dolphins. Tua not looking great, 14 of 23 for 114 yards with a touchdown. dump off to Devon Achane, but had 2 interceptions there. Daniel Jones on the other side, 22 of 29, 272 with a touchdown and no picks, but did add 2 touchdowns on the ground. So Daniel Jones stealing them from Jonathan Taylor there. He had an all right game, 18 of 71. Would have liked to see a little bit more in a blowout like this from JT. Michael Pittman, though, with the resurgence, 6 for 80 and the 1 touchdown. Tyler Warren, 9 targets, 7 for 76. Did get a carry for 3 yards, so 8 touches for the young rookie. So Tyler Warren getting plenty of action there. Josh Downs with a down game, 2 for 12. So he's somebody you could look to maybe target in a trade. As for the Dolphins, Devon Achane, 7 for 55 on the ground with a 26-yarder. He also added 3 for 20 through the air and that touchdown. Tyreek Hill on 6 targets, 4 for 40. Jalen Waddle on 5 targets, 4 for 30. So I would say the Dolphins receivers are something you could go after if you're looking for a bottom of the end receiver in your lineup. Ollie Gordon, who had potentially been somebody who was going to have a big week, maybe with the Achane injury, only 2 for 4 yards on the ground and did add 1 catch, but got negative yards on that. So Ollie Gordon, you might have missed your window to trade him away. So yeah, I think you're stuck with Ollie Gordon now. Moving along to other action, we'll head over to my Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking on the Atlanta Falcons in an NFC South battle. Last year, the Bucs traveled to Atlanta on a Thursday night barn burner, losing that one in overtime. This time, almost went to overtime, but Hung-Shu Koo missed a 42-yarder at the gun, which would have sent it to overtime. This one was a wild one, back and forth. Falcons took the lead at the beginning, then Baker brought him back with the first touchdown to Emeka Egbuka. My boy, getting into the end zone 2 times in his first action. There he is. And Buka finishing the day 4 for 67 with those 2 touchdowns on 6 targets. Baker spread it around decently. 8 targets to Mike Evans, 5 for 51 for Big Mike. Sterling Shepard filling in for the injured Chris Godwin, and Jalen McMillan getting 6 targets, 3 for 39 there for the old vet. Bucky Irving diving into the end zone on a touchdown through the air, 4 for 8 through the air for Bucky, and just 14 for 37 on the ground. But the key here is you see the target share, 4-1 in favor of Bucky, and 14 carries on the ground for Bucky to only 2 for Rachaad White and 1 for Sean Tucker. So clearly Bucky is the bell cow. That looks good for him going forward. There. So go over to the Falcon side of the ball. Second play from scrimmage, Bijan Robinson takes a catch to the house, 50 yards. Great play by Bijan. He finished the day 6 for 100 through the air, but just 12 for 24 as the Bucs D really slammed the door on the Falcons' rush attack all day long. You can see there Tyler Algier did get 10 carries, so Bijan, not that he's not going to get elite amount of work. He got 7 targets on the day, so that's promising. But Michael Penix slanging around the yard, 42 attempts, 27 completions, just under 300 yards, and the 1 touchdown pass to Bijan. The Falcons, they had their opportunity there late, and they just couldn't slammed the door on the Bucks offense as Baker led him down the field, got the game-winning touchdown pass to Egbuka, and then tried to bring it down the field, got Koo into field goal range at the 25-yard line, but then after earlier kicking one off of the upright and getting it to fall through, this time Koo just shanked it right, and the Bucks prevail 23-20. Kyle Pitts did have a promising afternoon, 7 for 59 on 8 targets, and Drake London 8 for 55 on 15 targets. So what we were hoping for happened with Drake London. 15 targets on 42 pass attempts. That is well over 30% for a target share. He was peppering London all day. Ray McLeod filled in with 3 for 51. The injured Darnell Mooney did not play. He's still struggling with that shoulder injury from the preseason. All right. So what do we got here as thoughts on this matchup? I think you can see that Egbuka his price is not going down. You get 2 touchdowns in your opening performance. Like, it was already tough to buy him as is. Now, you are not going to be able to buy Egbuka for anything less than, I don't know, almost a couple of firsts. Like, where do you rank Egbuka now? Like, JSN had a big game. AJ Brown struggled, though. So he's somewhere in that ballpark, Egbuka. I think he's clearly ahead of a lot of the other big number 2s. I don't know that I'd put him ahead of T. Higgins, but I gotta say he's like right there with T. Higgins. And then you factor in how much younger he is than T. Higgins. I'd probably rather have Egbuka in Dynasty. So just some thoughts there with Egbuka, man. Just this guy keeps climbing and climbing. It's crazy. On the Falcons side, like Drake London, all those people clamoring that he could possibly be the wide receiver 1 this year. I mean, Puka had a monster game, so it's hard to see him get ahead of Puka. But man, 15 targets on 42 pass attempts. That is some sweet news for London owners. Michael Penix looking promising. He did sneak into the end zone on a rush attempt on a 4th down. That was an awesome play by Penix. But now we'll move on to the Bengals-Browns and AFC North grudge match here. Well, not a grudge match. It's just opening week, but you had a stinker put up there fantasy-wise by Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. Anybody with that combo stack really hurt in week 1. Burrow just 14 of 23 for only 113 yards and a touchdown. T. Higgins 3 for 33. There you have Jamar Chase just 2 for 26 as he was shut down. Chase Brown did get into the end zone to save his day, but just 21 of 43. Otherwise, like the Browns D, you cannot, if you're a Browns fan, it's really hard to be pissed at this one. Over to the Browns side, Dylan Sampson leading the way, 12 carries to Jerome Ford's 6 carries for 8 yards. Gross. Looks like they might be bringing Quinshon Judkins, the freshly signed rookie, in quicker than you think, because Dylan Sampson had the 12 carries, but just 29 yards on the ground. Now, he did get a lot of damage done through the air, 8 catches for 64 yards for Dylan Sampson. So he's going to definitely keep some sort of role, even when Judkins does get into the mix. As for Joe Flacco, as I talked about with Aaron Rodgers, Flacco's in the same boat. Like, I don't know how soon they want to bring in Shedeur Sanders or Dylan Gabriel, but as long as they're playing tough like this, 17-16 loss to the Bengals isn't anything to sneeze at. So, um, but Flacco 31 of 45 for 290, a touchdown, but had the two interceptions that cost them. Um, Now Raheem Sanders, Rocket Sanders, did dive into the end zone for touchdown to steal it from Dylan Sampson. Um, as through the air, though, look at the Harold Fannin 7 for 63. I did not notice that earlier. Good to see that for the young rookie. Um, I mean, more targets than David Njoku, who had 3 for 37. So that's something to definitely note. Harold Fannin, he probably would be tough to acquire now. Anybody that drafted him later is going to want at least a second for him. Most drafts I was in, he went in like the third round. So you'd probably easily be able to sell him for a second now. Maybe to somebody who is either frustrated with Mark Andrews or had George Kittle now with the injury. We'll get to Brock Bowers here shortly and his injury. But yeah, big game there for Harold Fannin. So look to sell him if you don't need him at all. If you've got other young tight ends, and maybe Fannin was just a luxury. Cedric Tillman did come through with the one touchdown from Flacco, 5 for 52 there. Jerry Jeudy with a decent performance, 5 for 66 on the 8 targets, but you can see there Jeudy and Tillman with the same amount of targets. It's pretty well distributed there for Flacco on 45 attempts. 8 targets to Jeudy, 8 to Dylan Sampson, 9 to Fannin, 8 to Tillman, and 6 for Njoku. So a good split there amongst those 5 guys. Now they bring Judkins in, and maybe they'll be a little more successful on the ground. All right, let's hit up that Brock Bowers situation with his knee here and the Las Vegas Raiders. So Vegas headed to cross coast to New England to take on the Patriots, and Geno Smith coming through with a big game, 362 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. Ashton Genty in his inaugural performance, just 19 for 38 on the ground, but did get into the end zone for the young man, and then added 2 catches through the air. But Brock Bowers was the story here, 5 for 103 through the air. Did suffer a knee injury, though, in the third quarter. He got hit in the knee as he was going out of bounds. And then on the next play, you saw him stumble. And so he was brought to the tent, and they sat him the rest of the game. Now, good news on that front. It's not a meniscus, not an MCL, definitely not an ACL. So Bowers should be okay, at least on what we've heard first so far from the Raiders camp. Jacoby Myers, 8 for 97 on 10 targets from Geno. That is good for Myers owners, so I like to see that. Dante Thornton with 2 for 45. Trey Tucker did get the touchdown from Geno Smith, ended with 2 for 54 as well there. Over to the Patriots, where we had the split in the backfield between Travion Henderson and Ramondre Stevenson. That was the big question there. How much work would Travion Henderson get as the explosive rookie? Well, he got 5 carries for 27 yards, which is a good average, 5.4. He also added 6 for 24 through the air, so you can see they were trying to get him involved, but the offense just wasn't clicking. The Raiders' defense really gave Josh McDaniels some hassle all day long. Ramondre Gross, 7 for 15. Drake May throwing it 46 times. Numbers look okay, 30 for 46, 287, touchdown and an interception, but just never could really get it going. The one touchdown went to Pop Douglas, As you can see on the very bottom there, just 2 catches for Pop, but did get in the end zone. Hunter Henry with a solid day, 4 for 66, and Keishon Butte as well. 6 catches, got over the century mark for Keishon. So, question as to who would be the other New England wide receivers, I think we have the answer. It's Keishon Butte there with 103 yards on 8 targets. Stephon Diggs, 7 targets, 6 for 57, kind of what we expected there from Diggs. So Kyle Williams, not too much involved. Pop Douglas, not really. Did get the touchdown, but otherwise not that much involved either. So there you have it for the Patriots. So if we're talking the Patriots receivers here, I'm still leaning towards Hunter Henry, like being the only guy that you would actually pay up to buy. You got Butte getting 8 targets. You got Diggs getting 7 targets there. And Drake May throwing it 46 times. I don't think they want to be throwing it 46 times every week. But if their defense can't stop the Raiders, like, how are they going to stop some of these other teams on their schedule, like the Bills? And so, not good week 1 performance, but Mike Vrabel, I think, will get that defense worked on, and we'll see what happens next week. All right. After that, have any other early games to talk about here? Oh yeah, we got a couple of gross ones. We'll get to them right now. We've got the Cardinals traveling to New Orleans. Let's get through this one. So the Cardinals, 6.5 point favorites, traveling to New Orleans. They did cover. They won 20-13. Kyler Murray had an illness, but did get the start, 21-29 for 163 and 2 touchdowns, hitting Marvin Harrison. Good news there for Marv owners, 5 for 71 on 6 targets. Trey McBride on 9 targets goes 6 for 61. Of course, did not get into the end zone as usual. But nothing much else going on there. James Conner did add a touchdown through the air. He went 12 for 39 on the ground. Now Trey Benson getting a 52-yarder. That looks promising for Trey Benson. I'd still expect Conner to lead the way, but a little more work there for Trey Benson with the big run. That looks promising for Trey. Over to the Saints, you had Spencer Rattler slinging it around a ton, but not coming up big. Only a 70 rating there, 46 pass attempts, just 214 yards. You definitely like to see him get up closer to 300 yards on that many attempts. But Juwan Johnson, sneakily, 8 for 76 on 11 targets. Olave with 13 targets, 7 for 54, and Rashid Shaheed, they manufactured him some looks, 6 for 33. So you definitely see the big 3 there in New Orleans, and I mean, with the Saints defense being not so great, I think that Rattler's going to be slinging it a lot this year. Kamara did not get a lot of work through the air, did get a touchdown on the ground to save his day, though. And yeah, so if you're looking to buy, I mean, if you think Olave can stay away from concussions, if he's getting 13 targets out of 46 pass attempts. That's at least 25%, somewhere between 25 and 30% there for the target share. That's awesome for Olave. Then we've got one more game here to get to from the early slate. That'd be Carolina traveling to Jacksonville. And as I mentioned, with that trade Leo you asked about, here is Travis Hunter and his inaugural debut. 8 targets on 31 pass attempts. That's good. That is over 25%. So just 6 for 33, but promising numbers there is the target share for Travis Hunter. He did get out onto the field on defense a couple of snaps as well, but nothing to really write home about. He went out there, guarded Tet McMillan a couple times. Tet ended with 5 for 68 on 9 targets from Bryce Young. Also, just a hair over 25%. So the two rookies in this game going head to head, Tet and Travis Hunter, both getting good target shares in their opening day action. Um, Big story here, though, I think, is Travis Etienne. Got a 71 yarder and then had finished with 16 for 143. So obviously, early on, the backfield is Travis Etienne. As you can see there, Tank Bigsby just 5 carries, Bashul Tootin just 3 carries for the Jaguars. They did have a rushing touchdown. That went to Brian Thomas, who struggled to get open. BTJ, just 1 catch for 11 yards on 7 targets. So I didn't watch this game, I'll be honest. So I'm just going off of the numbers. I'll have to take some time to watch some of this action from this game. But the Jaguars seem to have this one in control most of the day. Bryce Young doesn't look like he really got things going there. 18 for 35, 154 yards, a touchdown, but 2 interceptions. Yeah, 1 touchdown pass was to Chuba Hubbard, so he saved his day with just 16 of 57 on the ground. They couldn't really get it going there, but Chuba 3 for 32 and the touchdown through the air. So Chuba with a solid performance. Not much else, though, other than Tet McMillan's 5 for 68 for the Panthers on the ground. Back to Jacksonville. Lawrence did have the 1 touchdown. Not a great performance. I mean, 178, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. That is, whatever. There you go. There's the Travis Etienne run. You can see it over on the right-hand side. Got tripped up at the end. Otherwise, he would have scored on it. That would have been, geez, an 80-plus yarder. And there's the end around to Brian Thomas for the touchdown. All right. So there you have it. There is our action from Sunday. Sunday. If we go back to Thursday and Friday's games, just some notes there. The Chiefs have a huge issue in their wide receiver room, already having Rashee Rice suspended for 6 games. Now you have the questionable shoulder, which was dislocated when the shoulder for Xavier Worthy, that is. He got it dislocated by running into Travis Kelce on a route. I don't know who was at fault, but man, that is a disaster for the Chiefs wide receiver room. They're saying Worthy could play, but with a shoulder harness or shoulder strap, a harness, I guess he couldn't really run routes with, right? Try and catch it one-handed. But yeah, not great news for Mahomes and company there in Kansas City. So you can go after Tyquan Thornton or Juju Smith-Schuster is the guy I think will get an uptick in targets, as you saw in that game. As for the Chargers on the other side, Justin Herbert looked amazing. Keenan Allen, the addition, got tons of targets, got the big touchdown there. Lad McConkey, solid day. Marion Hampton, not big numbers, but the key there was he got a lot of the carries, so like seeing that for Hampton. Najee with a little work there, but nothing to be concerned about, honestly. Then if you go back to Thursday's game, CD with an awesome game fantasy-wise, but a couple of big drops prevented him from having just an absolute monster of a performance and keeping the Cowboys from pulling off the big upset. Dak, I liked what I saw. Didn't hit Pickens on any deep balls like we would want to see, but we'll see if that happens next week against the Giants, who I don't know if they can cover CD and Pickens. So Go out there and scoop up or try and acquire Pickens if you can, because I think his numbers are going to get better going forward. As for we'll finish it off with the world champion Eagles. Jalen Hurts coming out of the gate firing. Had a couple of rushing touchdowns. A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, both buys this week. I think you'll hear it from every analyst that you can go after those two. So, Leo, I do like that performance or that trade for you, unless it's a super monster premium at tight end. Is A.J. Brown and Andrews? I'm taking A.J. Brown. And then Hunter and Nico, like, yes, Nico's more valuable in Dynasty, but Hunter, I like the target share that he got. Hunter is one of those rookies that could jump up into the top 12 Dynasty-wise. You've got Hunter, Tet, and Ibuka all knocking on the door right now. Those three are all in the wide receiver 15-ish range, somewhere between 12 and 20 right now. But all had promising performances. They all got good target share. I think all three of them have a chance to crack the top 10 in Dynasty at wide receiver this season. We'll see how the rest of the season unfolds. But if you are looking to acquire them, I don't know. I mean, if this guy was pissed at Travis Hunter's performance, I don't know. You're just not really looking at the numbers, like 6 for 33, but on 8 targets is good. That's 8 targets on 31 pass attempts. Like, when you've already got Brian Thomas there, for Hunter to get 8 targets is awesome. Awesome to look at. The fantasy performance wasn't amazing, but those analytics bode well for Travis Hunter. So, there you go. There's your recap for week 1. Tonight, we still have the Vikings traveling to Chicago and the Windy City for Monday Night Football. We'll have J.J. McCarthy going up against Caleb Williams. See what Ben Johnson has in store for us with the Bears offense. Can Caleb get a hold of it and bring Roma Dunze up to what we hope to see him become last year? Can he put it together and get it rolling? Then we'll have a lot more to talk about going into week 2 after tonight's action. So thank you for joining today. Don't forget to smash that like and subscribe. Get all the stuff from the Birdhouse coming forward. Check out the Patreon, patreon.com/Birdhouse Dynasty Show. Get involved in the chat. Just $3 a month. You can't find any Dynasty advice, action, fun anywhere else for cheaper. Get into the chat room. Get your team better and win your Dynasty leagues. With that, I want to remind you all to never stop working.